Hey, everybody, welcome back to another Motivation Monday podcast for Monday, September 16th, 2019. Hope you all had a great weekend and are getting the week off on the right foot. That's what these podcasts are all about, to just give you something to think about throughout the week and hopefully be as productive as possible. So we've been doing our little series here on steps to an effective practice routine, and we're going to continue that today. So we've talked about some of the preliminary work that you should do before you get into the actual practice room, before you have instrument in hand. And I think that those mental exercises before you go into the practice room are really, really important. But now it's time to get into kind of the nitty gritty of what do you actually do when you get into the practice room. And a little disclaimer about this stuff. This is just my own personal routine, but I think you guys out there, you know how much I think about this and how much I experiment with how I spend my time to find the most productive and effective way possible to use my precious time. You know, that's really what this is all about, is just getting you to the fruitful stuff a little bit more quickly and without all the trial and error. And that's really what I'm trying to do here. So this may not work for you. You'll have to find the thing that works for you in the best way possible. But these are just simply my thoughts on what works best for me. So take it with a grain of salt. You know, do your thing. Don't be afraid to step outside of what I'm trying to do here. But it'll just give you something to think about throughout the week. All right. So now we actually have our instrument out. We are mentally in the correct space to begin our practice routine. So now you want to think about sort of what is on your list of like actual tangible things to practice. And my advice this week is I would rather have you spend a little bit longer of a time on less things than the other way around, right? Rather than having a list of, 18 things to do in 2 hours, I'd rather have you whittle down that list to 2 or even 1 thing that you should be focusing the majority of your time on. Now, most of us have a lot less time than 2 hours, so let me talk about it in terms of, let's say you have 45 minutes, okay? So one thing that I think you should definitely do is warm up your instrument and do some instrument-specific things to get physically ready to play the instrument. That's super important because a lot of instruments out there, you can actually physically harm yourself if you're not doing your warm-up. So don't skip that. Do the technical things that you need to do that are specific to your instrument. Definitely don't skip that. So that would be my first thing. And you'll have to come up with an appropriate period of time for that. Let's say that that's 15 out of the 45 minutes, okay? So spend that time getting ready. And that's going to benefit what comes after it, because then you're going to be physically able to perform the other stuff on your list. So let's take, for instance, the fact that you are trying to learn a complicated chord progression. So let's say that there's an 8-bar section in a tune that you're trying to learn. I would like you to spend the entire half an hour on that one 8-bar section. And the reason is you're going to get a lot more benefit out of doing that, because it's going to allow you to actually get deep enough into it to start to come up with some solutions and to start to come up with some ways to get around that particular chord progression. Whereas if you only spent 10 minutes and then you jump to something else, that's very superficial work, and it's probably not going to benefit you all that much. So really the point here is spending an appropriate period of time where you can get deep enough into it. Maybe you do that for 2-3 days in a row, and you really start to see those benefits of working on that particular thing. Now, the problem is that when we sit down to practice, there's this mountain of material that we think we should be working on, and we can get into the headspace that we have to be working on all of it at the same time, but then we never really get any of it done to the degree that we actually can translate it into something in our playing. So you have to be a little bit patient. You have to realize that this is, a years-long process of getting better at jazz, and be okay with just focusing on this one little narrow microscopic piece of information that you're trying to get better. And don't think about the 35 other things that you should be doing, quote unquote, should be doing. It's all relative, right? So start to just climb up that mountain one step at a time. And some days you may only get 3 steps forward before you have to call it a day. That's all right, in my mind. Now, this podcast is certainly a great example of this. Every single week, I give you something like brand new to work on. And I'm trying to be better at giving you like some threads to pull on throughout the weeks so that maybe you're working on the same thing for a month and I'm just giving you a little bit of information each week. But don't be afraid to, listen to the podcasts as they come out. Get the PDF and then just file it away and say, all right, I'm going to get to this sometime 6 months from now because I'm going to take this one concept and work on it for the rest of this month. So I'm certainly guilty of giving you way too much information, but that's probably how you should handle it. Take it one episode at a time, work on it until you start to see some results, and then maybe you keep working on it until you have it mastered, then go on to that next concept that I'm presenting you with. Now, especially in this information age that we live in, it's very easy to get in way over your head, right? And it's very easy to just keep finding new and better information and then trying to do the new next best thing. But you've got to kind of either tune that stuff out or, like I said, you find that information and you bookmark it or you save it or you file it away for later. We can't work on 20 things at once or we're not going to be good at any of those 20 things. And I think that that's a really, really super important thing to think about. So that's my message. That's my next step to an effective practice routine is work on less, but work on those things for a longer period of time and work on them more deeply. So try to think about that this week when you're practicing. Pick one, the most important thing in your mind, the thing that would improve your playing the most, and focus on that for the week at the exclusion of everything else. And just know that you'll get to all that other stuff eventually, but you do not need to get to all of it this week. So let me know what you think about that. Is that something that plagues your practice routine? It certainly has for me in the past, but I have learned to just kind of cool out a little bit on that and realize that I'm not going to get 100 things done every week, and I would be lucky to just get one single thing done. So drop me a message in the 10-Minute Jazz Lesson Community Facebook group. Send me an email, 10minutejazzlesson@gmail.com. Reach out and let me know what you think about this stuff. All right? So have fun practicing this week. Get some stuff done. And we'll see you on Friday with a regularly scheduled episode. Have a great week, everybody. Bye.